This is not a test. Emergency alert. Do not attempt to exit the building. Repeat. Do not attempt to exit the building. At first, I thought it was a prank. Maybe the old broadcast system glitching again. But what happened after that changed everything. My job was simple. I am the school's night guard. My duty was to check the lights, make sure the gates and classroom doors were locked, and file a report in the morning. Nothing scary, nothing unusual, or at least, that is what I believed. That night, at exactly 12:07 a.m., I noticed something strange. One of the exit doors was moving. The handle was slowly turning, even though the hallway was silent. No wind, no footsteps, just the metallic click of something trying to get in. I thought maybe a janitor was left inside, or maybe some student sneaked in as a prank. But when I pulled the door open, what I saw on the other side was not the schoolyard. It was not outside at all. It was another hallway, identical to mine. The same fluorescent lights, the same tiled floor, even the same exit sign glowing faintly above. Except something was wrong. The lights inside that hallway flickered unnaturally, like a heartbeat pulsing through the walls. I froze. My brain kept trying to explain it away. Reflection, illusion, some kind of maintenance work. But then, the other hallway's exit door began to move too. Its handle turned slowly, perfectly in sync with the one in my hand. And for just a moment, I swear I saw someone standing inside that other hallway. Someone that looked exactly like me. My name does not matter. What matters is where I was working when this happened. The school was not large, but it was old. The walls carried the smell of dust and dampness. The kind of smell that tells you how many years have passed without anyone truly caring for the place. I was the night guard. My shift began at 10 in the evening and ended when the first teachers arrived in the morning. Most nights were painfully quiet. I would sit in the security office, sip cheap coffee, and walk the halls once every hour, just to make sure no one had broken in. The students had gone home hours ago. The classrooms were empty, the gym was locked, and the only sounds I usually heard were the humming of the vending machine and the occasional creak of the old building settling into itself. I used to joke with myself that the school was more alive at night than during the day. But on that particular night, the joke stopped being funny. When I first saw the exit door move, I tried to convince myself it was nothing. Maybe the door frame had shifted, or maybe a draft had pushed it. But then I remembered something. The exit doors in that school were not supposed to move at all. They were heavy metal doors with thick chains and magnetic locks. The only way they opened was with a keycard, and I was the only one holding it that night. So why was that handle turning on its own? At first, I stayed in my chair and simply watched. The handle of the exit door twitched once, then stopped. I told myself it was nothing, but my chest felt heavy, like something was pressing down on me. After a few seconds, it happened again. The handle began to move downward, slow and deliberate, as if someone on the other side was testing it, trying to see if it would give way. I stood up, my legs stiff, and walked toward the hallway that led to the door. Every step echoed against the lockers, making the school feel like a hollow shell. By the time I reached the door, the handle was still. I placed my hand on the cold metal and hesitated. Should I open it? My mind kept saying no, but my curiosity whispered yes. I pulled the handle. The door opened with a metallic groan, but what was on the other side froze me in place. There was no parking lot, no streetlights, no night air. Instead, I saw the same hallway, I was already standing in. The same lockers, the same flickering light, the same faint reflection of my own figure staring back at me. I thought I had gone insane. I closed the door quickly, my hands trembling, and leaned against it. But the part that truly broke me was not what I saw. It was what I heard. A faint whisper came from behind the door, low and stretched, like my own voice dragged through static. It said, "Why did you open it?" I could not move. The whisper clung to me even after the sound faded, like it had soaked into my skin. I forced myself to step away from the door, telling myself again and again that it was a dream, that I was tired, that my brain was playing tricks on me. But then it happened a second time. The sound of the handle turning echoed down the empty hallway, louder this time, more confident, as though whoever or whatever was behind it had realized I was listening. I backed away slowly, but before I could decide what to do, the door swung open on its own, and standing there, framed in the doorway, was me. It was not exactly me, not in the way a mirror shows you. This version of myself was slightly taller, slightly thinner, as if someone had stretched my body to see how far it would go before it snapped. Its face carried my features, but the smile was too wide, and the eyes did not blink. I froze. My throat closed. I wanted to scream, but no sound came out. The other me stepped forward, and the hallway lights above flickered violently. "Go back," it said in my exact voice. I stumbled backwards, nearly tripping over my own feet, and as soon as I blinked, the door slammed shut behind it. When I turned around again, the hallway was empty, but there was something new on the floor, a folded piece of paper. I bent down and picked it up with shaking hands. The paper was yellowed, like it had been sitting in a drawer for decades. On it, written in blocky black letters, were 3 rules. Rule 1: do not open the exit doors after midnight. Rule 2: if you hear yourself on the other side, do not answer. Rule 3: do not trust your reflection. My mouth went dry. I realized then that this was not a prank, not a dream, not anything my mind could excuse. Someone, or something, wanted me trapped here. I sat on the cold floor, my back pressed against the wall, staring at the folded paper in my hands. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. Every instinct screamed at me to leave, to run, to escape this place before it was too late. But I could not move. My hands trembled as I unfolded the paper fully, revealing a long list of instructions, each one more unnerving than the last. It was not just a list. It was a warning, a set of rules that had been left for me to follow if I wanted to survive the night. Rule 4: if you see movement in an empty classroom, do not investigate. Rule 5: if you hear a voice calling your name, do not answer. Rule 6: never enter the gym after 1 a.m. Rule 7: if the lights flicker, do not attempt to fix them. I read them over and over, trying to make sense of them. They were absurd, impossible, but the fear in my chest told me they were real. Then I noticed something strange. The writing on the paper seemed to shift as I stared. Words moved slightly, rearranging themselves like the paper itself was alive, warning me again, reminding me that every rule was a trap for failure. I had already broken one of the earlier rules by stepping too close to the exit door, and the memory of the other me standing in the hallway made my skin crawl. I realized that these were not suggestions. These were commandments. Each one designed to keep me alive, or at least to keep me from leaving. I folded the paper back carefully, almost afraid that if I dropped it, it might vanish, or worse, follow me. My eyes scanned the hallway. Every shadow seemed darker now, every sound louder, every flicker of light a threat. I knew then that the school was no longer a simple building of bricks and lockers. It was something else, a place that watched, waited, and controlled every step I took. I did not understand how it worked. I did not understand why it was happening, but I knew one thing with terrifying clarity. If I did not follow these rules perfectly, I would not make it through the night. And yet, a part of me wanted to test them, just a little, to see what would happen if I did not obey. I swallowed hard and forced myself to stand. Every movement felt deliberate, like the building itself was counting my steps. My eyes kept flicking to the empty halls, to the dark corners where the light refused to touch. The rules were simple, but the consequences of breaking them were anything but. I stepped cautiously down the hallway, the folded list of rules clutched tightly in my hand. Every step I took echoed in the empty school, bouncing off lockers, classroom doors, and darkened hallways. My pulse was racing so fast, it felt like it might burst through my chest. I knew I should stay close to the security office, stay safe, stay alive. But curiosity, that foolish human curiosity, pushed me forward. I passed the classroom that had been wide open earlier. The shadows seemed deeper now, stretching across the floor as if reaching for me. I could hear the hum of the fluorescent lights above, irregular and low, almost like a warning whispered just for me. I did not see it at first, but a door to one of the empty classrooms had creaked open slightly, just a crack. My stomach twisted. I knew the rule, do not open doors after midnight. But a small voice in my mind, half curiosity, half disbelief, urged me to see what was inside. I leaned closer. My hand hovered over the handle. My breath caught in my throat. The hallway behind me seemed to stretch, elongating unnaturally. The air grew colder, heavier, and I could feel it pressing against my chest. I opened the door. Nothing. I stepped inside, slowly, letting my eyes adjust to the darkness. Desks were toppled, chairs in strange positions, classroom materials scattered as if interrupted by some invisible force. Then I heard it, a faint scraping sound from behind me. I turned, slowly. Nothing. A whisper came, so soft I almost missed it. You should not have come here. I froze. My hands shook. My eyes darted to the shadows, searching for the source. And then I saw it. A figure standing at the back of the classroom, not fully formed, not entirely human. Limbs too long, body stiff, movements deliberate and jerky. Its head tilted unnaturally, as if trying to see through me. Panic surged. I realized I had broken a rule. Rule 4. If you see movement in an empty room, do not investigate. I turned to flee, but the door was no longer where it had been. The hallway outside seemed wrong, unfamiliar. Every corridor looked the same, every shadow a potential threat. The figure moved closer, soundless, its presence oppressive, suffocating. I ran. My footsteps echoed in the vast emptiness, but I could not escape the feeling that I was being followed. Every step I took, the figure mirrored me, keeping just out of reach, but close enough to make me feel its cold, unnatural gaze. I stumbled into a junction, lights flickering above me, casting jagged shadows on the walls. My heart hammered. I tried to remember the rules, the only lifeline I had left. Do not respond to knocking, do not answer voices, do not open doors. But now the school itself seemed alive. The shadows twisted, doors shifted, and every exit I tried led me back to the same place. I was trapped. And then I heard it, a soft voice, almost human, calling my name from somewhere just beyond the darkness. My knees threatened to give way. I could not tell if it was a trick, a hallucination, or something far worse. I realized then that the rules were not just instructions, they were warnings, a map of survival in a place that had its own rules, its own life, its own consciousness. Break them, and it would claim me. Obey them, and perhaps I might survive the night. I swallowed hard and forced myself to focus, my chest heaving, my mind screaming. I knew I had to follow the rest of the rules perfectly, or I would not make it out alive. I forced myself to move, my legs trembling with exhaustion and terror. The school no longer felt like a building. It felt like a maze, a living entity that shifted and twisted with every step I took. Every shadow seemed to reach for me, every flicker of light a warning. My own reflection in the glass doors stared back at me, but for a moment, it felt wrong. I could have sworn my eyes were not following my movements. They were watching, judging, mocking. I remembered the rules, the crumpled list in my pocket, my only guide through this nightmare. Rule 3. If a figure follows you, do not look back. My heart screamed at me as I imagined that figure behind me, looming just out of sight. I could hear its presence, though it made no sound. My mind whispered doubts. Is this real? Or am I imagining it? Am I even myself? Or just a version of me trapped in this endless maze? I paused in the corridor, trying to steady my racing thoughts. The silence was deafening. The hum of the lights above no longer comforted me. It felt like a pulse, counting down the time until I would fail. I shook my head, trying to remind myself of what was real. But reality was slippery here. Doors led nowhere. Shadows moved of their own accord. I could hear voices, faint whispers, taunting me, echoing phrases I did not understand. I caught a glimpse of something in the corner of my eye. Another version of myself, sitting calmly on the floor, staring straight ahead. My chest tightened. I could feel it mimicking me, mocking me, existing in a place where I did not belong. I realized then that this school was not just haunted. It was sentient. It knew my fears. It fed on them. And now, it was testing me. I tried to run, but the hallways stretched and warped, pulling me deeper into its labyrinth. Every turn I took seemed to bring me back to the same spot, the same corner where the shadow lingered. My mind began to unravel. I could not trust what I saw or heard. Even my own footsteps sounded alien, echoing with an unnatural rhythm, as if someone else was walking behind me in perfect sync. Am I real? I whispered to myself, the words barely audible over the pounding of my heart. The question reverberated through the empty corridors. I could not tell if I was asking the school, the shadows, or the reflection that had begun to follow me everywhere. And then the laughter started, soft, distant at first, like a child playing somewhere beyond reach. It grew louder, darker, impossibly close, filling the halls, twisting reality with every echo. It was everywhere, yet nowhere. My chest tightened. I realized that this place was not just a trap for my body. It was a trap for my mind. I forced myself forward, gripping the list of rules as if it were a lifeline. Every step, every decision mattered. One wrong move and I could be lost. Lost to the shadows, lost to the figures, lost to the school itself. My pulse raced. My thoughts spun. The school was alive, watching, testing, and I was alone, completely alone, except for the presence that knew me better than I knew myself. I reached the end of the corridor, my legs shaking so violently that I could barely take another step. Every hallway I turned into seemed to stretch endlessly, stretching the space beyond reason. The doors that should have led outside led me back inside, back to the same oppressive corridors, the same flickering lights, the same shadows that moved when I was not looking. I could hear it behind me now, not footsteps this time, but a low, hollow breathing, a rhythm that matched my own heartbeat, but warped, twisted, almost mocking. My mind screamed at me to run, to hide, but my body refused to cooperate. The hallways had become a trap, a labyrinth with no exit. Every door I opened brought me to the same place, as if the school itself was laughing at my desperation. I tried one last door, a heavy metal one that should have led to the emergency exit. My hand trembled on the handle. I told myself to push it open, to step into freedom, to leave this nightmare behind. I turned the knob and pushed. The door moved, but not outward. Instead, it led to a dimly lit hallway I had never seen before, though it felt familiar, like a memory I could not place. The air grew colder as I stepped inside. I could hear whispers, disjointed words that made no sense yet sounded like warnings. Shadows gathered in the corners, stretching toward me with impossible angles. Then I saw it, my reflection, or what should have been my reflection, standing in the center of the hallway. It was me, but wrong. Its movements were slightly delayed, its head tilted unnaturally, its eyes, my eyes, but empty, hollow, staring through me. I stumbled back, my pulse racing. The door behind me slammed shut on its own, sealing me inside. Panic clawed at my chest. Every rule I had memorized, every warning I had ignored, came crashing back. Do not open the doors. Do not respond. Do not look back. But I had broken them all. Every single one. And now I was trapped in the heart of the school, where reality no longer applied. The hallways shifted around me. Each turn I took led me back to the same figure, my double, standing silently, unmoving, watching. The air vibrated with a low hum, like the walls themselves were alive, resonating with some dark energy I could not comprehend. I realized then that escape was not about finding a door. It was about surviving the rules, obeying them, trusting them. But the rules had changed. They had evolved. The school was no longer static. It was sentient, aware, and it was testing me. A cold hand seemed to brush past my shoulder, though no one was there. My heart leapt into my throat. I could feel the presence behind me, everywhere, yet nowhere. A distorted voice echoed through the halls, mimicking my own words, twisting them into a mocking chant. Every instinct screamed to fight, to run, to escape. But the hallways did not allow it. I was caught in a loop, a cage with walls that moved when I blinked, and a figure that copied my every action, mocking my every decision. I collapsed to my knees, gripping the crumpled list of rules like a lifeline, my vision blurred with tears and panic. If I do not survive the night, the school will claim me. My mind teetered on the edge of reality and madness, and then, just as the hum reached a deafening crescendo, a single thought struck me with terrifying clarity. The exit doors I had trusted, the ones I thought would save me, were never exits at all. They were entrances to this prison. This school was not just a building, it was a trap. The realization hit me with full force. Every shadow, every whisper, every moving figure had been a test, a warning, a lure. And now, the final test awaited. The figure in the hallway took a single step forward, its hollow eyes boring into mine. I understood then. There was no escaping without following the rules perfectly. My pulse raced, my chest ached, my hands shook. Every fiber of my being screamed at me to move, to run. But the rules were my only chance to survive. I backed away slowly, keeping my eyes on the figure in the hallway, my trembling hands clutching the crumpled list of rules. Every breath I took felt like fire in my lungs. My mind raced, trying to reconcile what was happening with the warnings I had ignored. And then it hit me. The emergency alert. All along, it had been true. The exit doors I had trusted, the doors I had assumed would lead me out, were never meant to take anyone outside. They were illusions, traps designed to lure the unsuspecting deeper into the building. The school itself was alive in ways I could not comprehend, shifting, changing, bending reality around its prey. It was not just a place. It was a snare, a labyrinth that devoured those who did not follow the rules. The figure moved closer, step by step, its hollow eyes never leaving mine. I realized with a cold sinking in my chest that it was not just a mannequin, not just a shadow, not just the school. It was something else entirely, a reflection of my own fear, my own mistakes. Everything I had ignored, every rule I had broken, had brought me to this moment. I remembered the janitor, the warnings, the rules scribbled in dark ink. They were my only lifeline. The list had been real. The rules were real. And the consequences of breaking them were now clear. Survival was not about running or hiding. It was about obedience, discipline, and understanding that the ordinary world I thought I knew did not apply here. My hands shook as I read the rules once more, committing every word to memory. Do not open the doors after midnight. Do not respond if someone knocks. Do not look back. Every command that had seemed strange, arbitrary, or paranoid suddenly made perfect sense. These rules were the only barrier between me and whatever horrors lurked beyond the illusion of the doors. With a deep, ragged breath, I steeled myself. I had survived this far by a combination of instinct and luck. Now, it was time to survive with knowledge. The school had tested me, pushed me to the edge of fear, forced me to confront realities that made no sense. But I would not give in. I would follow the rules, adhere to the warnings, and navigate the shifting hallways until my shift ended, until dawn arrived, until I could escape. And even then, I understood a chilling truth. The school did not care about the rules or the list. It cared only about those who entered it unprepared. Those who underestimated it, those who doubted it, would never leave. I had survived this night, yes, but the school had left its mark. A permanent reminder that some places are not meant for the living, that some doors should never be opened, and that some rules exist for a reason beyond comprehension. As the first light of dawn began to seep through the tiny windows of the security office, I looked one last time at the exit doors. They appeared normal now, unassuming, almost innocent. But I knew better. I had learned the hard way that appearances could not be trusted, that the emergency alert was not a suggestion, but a literal warning. The doors did not lead outside. They led elsewhere, to places I did not dare imagine. I left the office, my keys in hand, my heart still pounding. I glanced back only once before stepping into the parking lot. The school loomed behind me, silent, still, and impossibly vast. And I knew I would never return. Some places, I realized, are better left alone. Some warnings, better obeyed. And some doors, no matter how ordinary they seem, are never meant to be opened. I never returned to that place. The school, with its empty hallways and shifting doors, remains etched in my memory like a living nightmare. Every time I close my eyes, I see those exit doors, standing deceptively normal, waiting for someone else to make the same mistake I almost did. I tell this story now, not for fame, not for attention, but as a warning. If you ever find yourself in a place that feels too quiet, too still, where the doors do not lead where they should, remember this. Obey the rules, follow the signs, trust your instincts, and above all, never assume that what you see is real. Somewhere in the dark corners of that building, the school continues to watch. It waits for the curious, the careless, the impatient. It learns, it adapts, it traps. The rules are not arbitrary. They are the thin line between survival and something far worse. I share this now because you need to know. Not every exit leads outside. Not every hallway is safe. And not every person or figure you see can be trusted. Some things move in ways you cannot understand. Some things are patient, and they will not forgive. If you ever hear an emergency alert, if you see instructions scribbled in haste, if something tells you to stay put, do not ignore it. Some warnings are literal. Some rules exist for a reason beyond comprehension, and some doors are never meant to be opened. Remember my story, and do not make the mistakes I almost did. Stay inside, stay vigilant, and if ever you are unsure, do not move, do not open, do not answer. Some places are better left alone. Some experiences are not meant to be survived. The school is still there. The doors are still there. And it waits.